What if Allah had already answered you, but in a silence so gentle that you didn't hear it? What if the love you're waiting for isn't a hurricane, but a sacred calm, a stability that makes no noise? You look around you, you feel things, but you doubt. Does this person really love me? Is this them? Does Allah want them to stay? Answers don't always come in words. Sometimes Allah gently confirms, in small details that only an attentive heart can notice. In this video, I'll show you how Allah gives you silent signs when someone truly loves you and is meant to stay by your side. Not magical signs, not illusory dreams, but confirmations rooted in pure love, in faith, in the stability that only God can create between two sincere hearts. Stay until the end. You might understand something your heart has been trying to tell you for a long time. 1. The silence that speaks, when serenity becomes an answer. There are presences that don't need to prove anything. They don't announce their value. They don't impose themselves. They settle gently into your daily life, like a light rain that your soul recognizes. You didn't expect it this way, and yet, you understand that something invisible is happening. It's not excitement that shakes you, it's peace. And this peace isn't human. It descends from higher. Allah has a unique way of confirming what is good for you. He removes fear where you thought it would be inevitable. This person doesn't speak loudly. They don't impress you with their gestures, but their presence calms your inner turmoil. There is no calculation, no strategy. There isn't even a promise. Only a reassuring constancy, a simplicity that becomes essential. And there, somewhere between a sincere word and a meaningful silence, your heart calms. It's not the illusion of intense passion. It's the gentle weight of a stable truth. You always want visible signs, clear events. But sometimes, the true divine response is what doesn't change. It's that person who stays quietly, but never abandons you. And you ask yourself, why don't I feel anxiety with them? Because this connection isn't stealing your energy, it's giving it back. It's not there to create dependency. It's there to remind your soul that it was created for stability, not for chaos. It's not a relationship that requires endless proof. It's a presence that, without speaking, helps you breathe. You don't feel obliged to become someone else to deserve their gaze. You don't have to perform. And this emotional comfort doesn't come from human beings. It comes from the one who placed peace in the heavens and in hearts. It comes from Allah. There are people who arrive with tumult, and there are others who arrive with sakina. You don't hear them arrive, but their presence becomes your point of reference. The heart, however, recognizes what the soul has silently asked for. And Allah, in His mercy, sometimes responds with the gentleness of a quiet connection, where nothing is spectacular, but everything is profound. So you stay there, facing this person, without shivering with uncertainty, without needing to decode everything. And you understand that this peace you feel is not a coincidence. It's a signature, a discreet trace of Rahman, a silent response, but with meaning. 2. Divine coherence. When your paths align effortlessly. There is a spiritual logic that many overlook when they speak of love. Allah does not create chaos to unite two hearts. He does not place confusion where He wants to establish stability. When two people are destined to accompany each other, their paths don't become perfect, but they do become compatible. That is divine coherence. Look carefully. You don't need to bend over backward to enter her life. She doesn't reinvent herself to fit your world either. There is a natural meeting of responsibilities, intentions, and life plans. It's not that everything is easy. It's that everything is possible. You don't push each other off the straight and narrow to please each other. You move forward, each along their own path of righteousness, and you realize that these lines converge. That's when you understand that this bond isn't born of emotion, but of direction. The love desired by Allah isn't limited to feelings. It's recognized in trajectories. Does she pray? Does he make choices that bring you closer to Allah? Does she support you in your deen, or does she distract you? These are the concrete elements that become indicators of a blessed love. Not long messages at midnight, not promises without foundation. There's also a principle we often forget. Good attracts good. If Allah has purified your intention, your heart will naturally seek a heart that has also been purified. It's a spiritual mechanism, an inner gravitation that you can't fake. And when it happens, you don't need to force it. Deep discussions come naturally. Decisions are made with maturity, not fear. There's an ease in deep conversations, mutual respect in silences, and above all, an absence of unnecessary fighting. Disagreements don't turn into wars. Differences don't become walls. There's a healthy way to manage tensions because everyone knows that this bond cannot be sacrificed at the slightest challenge. That's when you realize that alignment isn't emotional, but existential. Allah creates unions based on coherence. It's not just a beautiful story to tell. It's a life plan that has meaning in terms of deen, character, and intentions. Even if you don't understand everything, even if everything isn't yet clear, there's this fluidity, the one that says your paths are compatible in the essentials. And this is no accident. When Allah wants two people to walk together, He doesn't forcefully push them in the same direction. He guides them, each on their own, until their paths cross. And when that happens, everything begins to make sense. No magic, no fantasy, just clarity, just divine coherence. 3. Trial without flight. When love doesn't disappear at the first sign of difficulty, there comes a time when everything seems to change. It's no longer the gentle stage of a budding bond. It's the moment when masks fall, when weaknesses appear, when cracks resurface. And that's when many turn their backs. Many choose avoidance, the comfort of flight, the silence of distance. But there is one who stays. Not because he or she isn't afraid, but because he or she has learned that loyalty means staying when it's no longer easy. And this kind of heart, Allah shapes in the shadows. He prepares it for trial, not for abandonment. You know, the greatest truths of life are revealed when everything trembles. And in that trembling, there are hands that withdraw and others that reach out. When you fall ill, when your heart doubts, when your situation becomes complicated, look closely. Who stays? Who moves away? And who prays for you in secret without telling you? It is there, in this silence of reality, that Allah confirms. This confirmation does not come with romantic speeches. It comes with a hot dish placed before you when you had lost your appetite. It comes with a message at Fajr. I am making dua for you today. It comes with a look that says, I know you are not well, but I am here. And you understand that this bond is not empty attachment. It is Rahmah incarnate. It is not someone who wants to be there for the good times. He's someone who wants to accompany you through the storms. Not to play savior, but to prove that even broken hearts deserve to be loved with faith. You thought the trial would break that bond. But Allah showed you that, on the contrary, it strengthened it. It revealed sincerity. It removed illusions. And it highlighted a reality. He who loves for the sake of Allah does not flee from what is difficult. He doesn't seek perfection, but he stays when you can no longer even stand. And in that endurance, in that patience in the face of your weaknesses, you feel something immense. Not a possessive attachment, not a fleeting passion, but a silent mercy that heals you little by little. You realize that this person may be your earthly refuge, the one Allah has intended for you to help you stand firm during your time on earth, without noise, without public promises, but with the most beautiful declaration, "I'm not going anywhere." And it is there, in this unconditional loyalty, that one of Allah's most powerful confirmations lies hidden. 5. Dawahs that match. When what you ask reflects what the other becomes. There are things we ask of Allah without realizing we are describing a person. You were there in a heavy night, your heart lost but sincere. You didn't pray for a name or a face. You simply begged for a heart that would understand yours without judging it, for a soul that doesn't impose itself but adjusts, quietly, without demands. You asked for a presence that doesn't weigh you down, but anchors you. Someone who doesn't need you to exist, but who chooses to be there, every day, consistently. And then time passed. You thought your dua might have been lost in the sky, that Allah had heard, but He wouldn't answer as you hoped. But what you didn't know was that at the very moment you were praying, someone, somewhere, was undergoing a transformation. He or she didn't know that their path would eventually cross yours, but Allah was preparing their heart to become what you were calling for in yours. It's not a coincidence. It's an encounter between two prayers, a correspondence between what you hoped for and what Allah has fashioned. It's not necessarily perfect. It's not always fluid, but there's this strange accuracy, as if the other were the answer to a request that only you know, a response without words, without a visible miracle, but with a calm clarity. You feel that Allah has listened, not by sending you exactly what you wanted, but by placing in your life what your soul truly needed to learn to love. And then you look at this person, and you recognize certain details of your prayer. It's not just someone you like. It's someone whose presence heals what you could no longer explain. It's someone who pushes you to no longer depend, but to trust again. And in this coincidence, there is a divine reminder. I heard you. Even when you thought no one was listening. Allah doesn't always respond brilliantly, but He responds accurately. And sometimes the response isn't an event. It's a human being, calm, aligned, present at the right time. Not too soon, not too late. That's when you understand. This bond is not ordinary. It was born from a call of the heart and a heavenly response, a dua incarnate, a love woven between the invisible lines of divine mercy. When Allah chooses to place someone in your life, it's never by chance, it's never too early, and it's never too late. But He asks one thing of you. Listen, not with your ears, but with your heart. Look beyond appearances, feel the peace, observe the steadfastness, witness the modesty, the patience, and the love that draws us towards Him, not towards the world. So now, if this message resonates with you, share it. Perhaps Allah also wants to speak to someone's heart through you. Like, comment if you recognize yourself. And above all, keep this video. Because when love is true and willed by Allah, you will need to remember that God's silence is sometimes the most powerful response. 4. Modesty and elevation. When the bond leads toward God, not toward passions, there are bonds that seduce you, and there are bonds that purify you. Never confuse the two. When Allah wants to bless a relationship, He envelops it in something that many today shun: modesty. This modesty doesn't weaken the bond. On the contrary, it gives it a rare depth, a sacred respect, a spiritual discipline that drives away those who seek only emotional consumption. This bond doesn't seek to expose your feelings like merchandise. It protects them, it purifies them, it directs them toward the essential, Allah. You notice that this person isn't seeking your gaze, but your reassurance. They aren't inviting you to disobey, but to refocus. It doesn't feed your ego, but opens the doors to repentance, patience, and good behavior. Because a bond willed by Allah is one that makes you pray more often, not one that makes you feel guilty after every call. True love in Islam doesn't begin with a hand secretly held, but with two hearts silently invoking Allah, in two separate corners, asking Him, Ya Rab, if this is for me, then bless, purify, and make it easy. And you know, the one who lifts you up to Allah truly loves you. No unnecessary flattery, no emotional overreach, just consistency, restraint, clear direction. Because he or she doesn't just want your smile, but your eternal stability. Not just your hand in this world, but your salvation in the hereafter. This person speaks to you with hikmah. They know the limits, she doesn't test them, she respects them. She knows that this bond is not a game, but an amana, a trust entrusted to her by Allah. And that's why she doesn't dare drag you into the fire under the pretext of earthly love. So you recognize this divine confirmation. It's in the respectful silences, in the sober exchanges, in the moments of remembrance instead of forgetting, in this feeling of not being idolized, but encouraged to become better for Allah. When you feel that this bond helps you preserve your soul, that it increases your reverential awe, taqwa, that it awakens your modesty, that it pushes you to close haram doors that you would never have closed alone, then don't doubt. Allah is elevating you through this person. And this person doesn't love you for yourself alone. They love you in Allah. And that is stronger than all the I love yous in the world.